So I'd like to introduce our next speaker, and we'd like to talk about how to build companies mindfully, how to build companies responsibly for everybody involved, for the employees, for the families. It's an incredibly, exceptionally hard journey to do a startup. And if you disagree, you haven't done a startup, and you go through waves of being on the top of the world and being on the bottom of the world and about every 2 hours, and then you go back again. And let's talk about that. Let me introduce you, the founder and CEO of Funderbeam. Kaidi, please, the stage is yours.
Hello, hello Riga, and it's actually tough to be on the stage after such a presentation and to talk about how to grow a globally scalable company, but let's give it a try. As you hear from my accent, I'm Estonian. It's this rounded Nordic accent. I was born in Estonia. I still live in Estonia, but actually from the countries we are from, it's possible to grow a global company. I am the founder and CEO of Funderbeam, and Funderbeam is a startup stock exchange, as we like to call it. It's a platform where global companies can get funded, and while investors invest, they can trade with the investments. And obviously, we built it on the blockchain technology to see if this is a next big thing. It is next big thing, even though blockchain itself as a technology still has its lessons to be learned and problems to be fixed. This year, and it's actually a month ago, Funderbeam was selected the best fintech startup in Europe. 2017, but we've been doing this business for 4 years, and it's not actually easy journey. And this is the Funderbeam journey, and this is my story and the Funderbeam story about how it is and how tough it is to build a global company. And I'm going to introduce you also some of those mistakes and the problems we've gone through the journey. So hope you're gonna like it. First of all, life is a lottery. Life is a very big lottery. We can actually select or take care of so many things in life, but you never can change, and we never can select the place and the year when we are born. And in 1976, when I was born, the world was so much different place than we used to see it now. Estonia, Latvia, very many countries, we used to have the different life. And when the countries gained independence in 1991, then actually my generation was the generation that had the opportunity to build up the country. And this is this opportunity where your history and where your past becomes the fortune, and where the lottery ticket that you were born in Soviet Union becomes a fortune. You are able to build up your country, and you are able to build up the experience on so young ages. And I think this is sort of when people ask about what is it about those small countries that want to become big, what is it there? And this is something what we had. We had to fight so much to get out of the past and to get out of the history and to actually be some meaningful country for the world. And that gives the basis and that gives the strength for so many nations and so many startups from small countries. And also, what I experienced growing up in Estonia, and then my first job was, I became the IT lawyer, the first IT lawyer in Estonia, and then you go to the international conference, and it's actually tough to talk I'm from Estonia. Yes, it's part of, it was part of Soviet Union. Yes, we are very poor. Yes, we are building up the country. So it's kind of this glass ceiling you have to go through at the beginning. But I think this is also something that makes these small countries and small nations a strong. And it is very much up to us to have the attitude towards the people coming from emerging markets and coming from different markets. I don't know if you heard the story about the Afghan girls building a robotics accelerator. It's something really, really cool. They were refused to get the visa in US and how they still fight for it, and they now have a really, really good story to talk about. So this kind of, you want to fight out of it, and this is the basis for growing the company. Every startup actually starts with the idea. Yeah, you might have a team, but the first thing you come together and you discuss, it's the idea. This is the first ever screenshot of Funderbeam. And it was 2013 when we had the chance to go to Silicon Valley and do the first pitching. It was like we were discussing the idea for 3-4 weeks, and when the opportunity arose, we went to Silicon Valley, and I was the one who was pitching it. To be honest, these were the worst 15 minutes of my life, because in Silicon Valley, they're going to shoot you dead when you don't know where your business is going and where you don't know answers of all the questions we see are going to ask. But from the very beginning, Funderbeam has started to build a stock exchange. And our dream was build a trading platform for the early stage companies. But we started with the data, and we started the data analytics for the startup companies so that the investors would understand what's happening in the market. And this is where the biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes what we made as a Funderbeam is that when we started to build the data platform and we started to build the data analytics, then we were mainly talking about the data. And we forgot about the vision, or actually we forgot about to mention the vision. The vision that we're gonna, besides data, build the funding and the trading platform. We're gonna build a baby for the Bloomberg, NASDAQ, and Angel list. And now, when we go and talk, hey, we're the startup stock exchange, then people look at us and say, but what, you're the data business? We say, no. We not just the data business, but we whole bunch of services for the investors and for the startups to actually get funding and invest. And this is the learning, is that when you have a dream, and when you want to catch the dream, and when you have a vision for the business, always talk about the vision, and always keep the vision in mind. Otherwise, later, it's going to be tough to say that, actually, this is what we were building from the very beginning. And especially the first 2 years, it's only about the vision, and it's only about the dream. The first 2 years are the toughest. This is where they're always going to ask this crazy questions, and they're going to question your business, and you're going to question your existence, and you're going to question your performance and everything. But in case you have the dream and the vision to work for and to go for, this is what saves you. We finally started to build the funding and trading in 2015. And now, actually, it's so much easier because we talk about the vision, and not just we talk about the vision, but we built it. We have the data, we have the funding, and we have the trading. And it is scaling globally. But we're going to talk about how to get there. Team. This is obviously, the team is most important part of the businesses, because ideas, as quite many VCs say, you can go to the website and you can Google and you get there so many ideas, but the team is the one who's going to execute it. And I start with co-founder Urmas. So you can, it's very tough to be in this fight alone. It's really, really tough. If you don't have the co-founder or the partner, you don't have the shoulder to cry, then it's going to be a tough journey. Yeah, I do have family. I have my husband. I discuss some things with him, but it's not this. He's not in the business. He's not in the mud with me daily. And for the co-founders, actually, it's like a marriage. You're going to be married, this person, is it he or she, for the whole period you run your business. And it has to be a good partnership. And in our case, it's really, we started actually as 4 founders at the very beginning. One of them said that I'm really very early phase founder, I help you, but when we start introducing the routines, I will leave, or I will, it's not my business anymore. And the other is sort of nighttime startup, but 2 of us are now constantly, daily running the business. And someone asked from me, is your business partner, is he your friend? And then I said, no, he's not my friend, because we are warriors. And once you're in the war, it's not the friend you go into the war. You go with the other soldier. And so we're in the soldiers in the battlefield. Yeah, maybe we'll become really good friends, but not now. There's no time for the friendship because we have a fight and we need to win it. And right after the founders, the team comes. And the team, I've always said that actually for the founder and for the leader, the team is the most crucial part in the business, and you as a person should be the most stupid person in the room, because then the team can contribute where they are strongest. And this is the Funderbeam team right after we got a trophy from the European FinTech Awards, to be awarded, as I said at the beginning, the best FinTech 2017. And the way we formed a team is not based on the professional know-how only. Because it's easy to get a very good CFO, and it's actually easy to get a good CMO, but it's very difficult to get the personalities that match, that actually share the same values. And what I've, again, learned in the journey of being the head of the stock exchange also in Estonia is that once you have the conflicts based on the values, you can't solve it. It's becoming unsolvable. So the way we select people in Funderbeam is we always check the values. And one of the questions, if anyone ever wants to work for Funderbeam, we ask at the job interview is, if you would be a character in the fairy tale or in the movie, then who would you be? Think about it. Who would you be? And this actually reveals quite a lot about the people we are talking and about those people we are hiring. And once the values are set, then the team is taking care of their own performance and is taking care of them being strong. The funding, obviously, the toughest part in the company's journey. We've been lucky to get funding first from the very, very strong local angels. Then Team Draper joined, Thomson Reuters joined, and quite many prominent investors from all around the world. But the funding journey is, again, like getting married to someone, because those investors are going to be either your supporters or they're going to annoy you for the whole journey until the exit. And we had two cases when we negotiated the deal and everything was fine. It was they to transfer the funds, and then the angel called me and said, "Hey, Kaidi, I can't invest." And I say, what do you mean? We negotiated the deal. Everything was fine. You said you're going to take half of the funding round, and now you simply don't transfer the funds. And he said, sorry, but I can't do it. And then, you know, the whole world simply crashes down. You're there at the phone. You look at the people whom you hired in the team, and you say, how can I tell them I don't have money to pay the salary? And exactly the same thing happened with the next funding round when we were about to raise a much bigger fund, and then one of the VCs said, yeah, we're going to take half of your next round, so don't even worry about it. Let's meet in your office and let's discuss what we're going to do with the second half. He flew in, and the first thing he said in front of the bunch of our board and international board members is, I'm not going to invest. So let's discuss about the business. And then this kind of behaviors, and especially in front of the international community of angels, it shakes the company, but it shakes the whole future. But both cases, actually, what they did, they brought us a next level of investors and a much better level of investors. So they forced us into the mud so that we could work even harder and get even better investors on Funderbeam. And obviously, the last round we raised on our own platform. Now we have investors from 30 countries, and those investors who invested to Funderbeam as a company through our platform are our biggest ambassadors and our biggest salesmen. So whenever you consider a crowdfunding, and whenever you consider obviously coming to Funderbeam, then these investors become your salesmen all around the world. And this is what we gained, is thanks to the investors, thanks to very international community of investors, we are going global. Our story of getting out of Europe once you build a business, or once you set up a business from Estonia or Latvia or any small country, it doesn't make sense to look at the home market as your main market. So you build a global business. But how to get out of Europe? And especially when we are in Europe, the question is, do we go to US or do we go to Asia? And for us, it's kind of like I said, life is a lottery. There was an article written about Funderbeam in Wired Japan, and Taise-san, who is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Japan, happened to read it. And he simply fell in love with Funderbeam and the idea of democratizing startup investments and bringing the global community and giving liquidity. And at one point, he reached out. And it ended up a partnership and an investment case. So now Mistletoe is his VC firm, invested in Funderbeam. And with this investment, they opened up the whole Asia-Pacific market to us. And again, as a company, one investment and one very well-networked person can open up the whole market. So it sold us, and luckily the US had an accident with the latest elections, so it made a choice for us. So we went to Asia, and now we're building a Funderbeam business in Asia-Pacific. And especially when we talk about entering the Asia, once you find a good partner, then Asia is very interesting market, and I really strongly suggest for everyone and every startup here in Europe actually to look at Asia, and Asian numbers are simply booming. So it is the going global is that a very good partner who opens up new markets, and then you simply go there. Blockchain. So Funderbeam is using the blockchain as a technology, and then blockchain is this funny technology that enables us to exchange values and exchange assets. As the internet enables us to exchange information, then blockchain is about the assets. And I think the blockchain, while they record the assets and while they record it in the blocks, it is very much the description of the startup journey. This is the photo I took with my iPhone from Singapore, because Funderbeam is also looking to set up our global trading headquarters in Singapore. And every startup's life is like a blockchain, or is like a bunch of the buildings where every single building has a role to play in this ecosystem. And every single failure during the journey, every single negative feedback, every single customer complaint, every single shout-outs, everything is this block that transforms your story. So collect those blocks and collect those negative feedback and collect those failures, especially failures, because it's hardly you learn from the successes, but it's mainly you learn from the failures. This is what makes you strong. And I really say that the first 2 years are really, really tough, really tough. Once you survive the first 2 years, it's getting better, but it has its downside as well, like you lose your social life. So it is a race. Building a strong company, it's a constant race and it's the constant fight. This is a photo of Funderbeam 2 team members. The guy is the head of marketing and the lady is head of happiness, or our HR managers sitting in the audience. The race is called Tough Man Race, which means that you run through the mud and over the stones, and it's really, really tough. And this is what the startup life is. You actually mainly go through the mud. And if you have a really strong team that carries you through the mud, then you will survive. You have to have these key elements, like the very good investors who support you, your own personal supporting team supporting you, plus the team itself. So it's not going to be the sunshine, but it's going to be the tough, tough race. And just to survive, it's not only the business, it's the people who do the business. Go get it. Thank you.